It's challenging.
You're going to control quality of it.
Yes.
And watch it. So all we have to do is that how you're going to change to make it. That's all we know. Yeah. This person. Oh, that is just
We're using Selenium.
yeah. And titles are direct word. No, it has. That's the title. So that's what we're listening to. This is direct. I can even look at it on. We're listening at where to give away. Yeah. So that's what we're talking. Like you guys use different words like the text word. This game is just people creating yeah. So that's what we're get here by 7. We have it's like 4. You have a kid or something like that. And we can gather hooks. We're sitting here, but that just
Oh, just right here. Right here. I thought that was their stuff. So.
Yeah, it's creative.
So then you will, I guess, you'll have a longer conversation. And then draw it back. Now we can see it.
That's okay. So we,
They had the late, so you have no idea where they're at.
Okay. I mean, they're at the end of the table. You know where the table starts.
I probably need one in almost every other.
I didn't fill out mine. Yeah.
My training in Dutchtown now basically.
Generates some outside. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it's generating.
Yeah, I generated some, which I just like what you're using it last. So you're, exporting XML. Yeah, and then they turn them all off.
It sounds like real thing. Oh, so it's like what's in development? So it's
got a friend who's yeah, he lives in Colombia. He doesn't get work until 11.
Okay, so it's more towards like what we were talking about.
Or like, yeah, they're like, it's in at 11.
So we're talking about. Oh, right. Oh, you did? Yeah. Not that far as the Protractor. Oh, yeah. And not all the customers are in I'm anxious for digital because I have thoughts about how to do site design. Because right now, everybody
If I'm numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you're. No, sorry.
Cool.
Whatever.
Right. So, cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler Leonhardt, engineer over at Microsoft. I work on the PowerShell Gallery, the web app for those of you that know PowerShell. It's the package manager for PowerShell. But today, I'm going to be talking about automated UI tests with Selenium. Now, I want to come out and say I'm fully okay. And UI that the PowerShell Gallery uses today. So that's also what this talk is all about. So I'm going to talk about UI testing from my point of view, about Selenium, the demo in the right direction, thinking, what is a UI test? I don't know what that on that barrier. And we'll see how it goes. Why? Great question. Because everyone talks about it, no one really does it. But everyone wants to because they know they'll be better off. Right? Something like that? There are some people in the room that eat healthy, and I'm sorry if I offended you. Anyway, UI testing. What is it actually? So it's a form of black box testing. We're testing from the user's point of view. It involves clicking around the screen and interacting with your web app. Example. Let's say you go to google.com. We want to test to make sure that Google's search results are what we expect. So I'll type in Selenium here and hit enter. And at this point, we want to define microscopic font here. I'm sure you can all see that. Success is to us. And I will say that for us, success is that this first link right here says Selenium Software Wikipedia, like that. So we'll say that if this shows up at the top here, we consider this a pass. And we do that by looking at of the results that we get back. There, it says Selenium Software Wikipedia. This is one way to do UI testing. Another way that you may have heard of before is doing like a screenshot comparison. I'm not going to talk about that today, but there are tools out there to do that. And in fact, Selenium can at least take screenshots that you can then, as you wish. So Selenium has been around for a while. I'm sure a few of you know what it is and have used it before. Source, cross-platform web automation framework. Now, I said automation framework, not test framework. The reason why I say this, something like Mocha, JUnit, these unit test type frameworks. And what those would do is utilize Selenium commands to control a browser, cert based on the results that you get back from Selenium. It works by controlling browsers, internal APIs, and what it does is it abstracts away all the browser API nonsense and delivers a common HTTP interface that you can use in your projects. So by that, let's look at a visual. We have a browser you use. And is browser to say, hey, go click on that itself exposes an HTTP internet. Exposes the interface for just about English and Apple talks about an example would be does you get push request to drive machine actually click on the browser at a high level what's happening. All right. That's cool. I mentioned this. However, .NET Core 2.0 released fairly recently, and in .NET Core, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's a cross-platform version of .NET, and the 1.x versions, because Selenium used a whole bunch of APIs that were available in the .NET framework that were not available in .NET Core, but 2.0 fills the gaps. I'll open it up in Visual Studio, and we'll install some NuGets, and you'll see some tests. Quickly, the NuGets that I'm going to install. Top one, Selenium WebDriver. That's just the C# library that interacts with that running WebDriver on our machine. Selenium WebDriver Chrome driver. That's that actual WebDriver executable that's been NuGetized, so you can pull it in without having to manually download it or check it into your, whatever the case may be. And then this last one is used to fill in some of the gaps for .NET Core and .NET Standard 2.0. Here we go. So this on my Mac, which is another great thing about. So first things first, I've got my terminal here, and we're going to install a new unit test project. Let's make a directory called X. Sure. So can you all see that, by the way? Should I zoom in more? That. So .NET CLI, .NET new, and just so you can see, there's a whole bunch of things that this CLI for you. The one we care about is use today this unit test project, MS Test. There's also XUnit if you're familiar with that. So we would just do .NET new test, and then it'll go and restore some needed NuGet packages, and that's about it. And we see in our directory we have one.cs, the CS proj, and some other stuff. Maybe this looks familiar to you. That's pretty much it to get started with a unit test project. Now, I'm going to open up Visual Studio. If I can type. Cool. All right, so I've got a question. Now, I've kind of written out all these test cases that I wanted to show you today. And I could show you the ones that I wrote. Or if you'd like, I can just start from scratch and write them all again and be a little bit more hands-on on that. It would be a live demo, and things could break. So you'd have to forgive me for that. But what do you think? What would you prefer? From scratch? We'll do it live. All right, cool. All right, so let me go ahead and open up that project that we just created. Cool. So this is the Mac version of Visual Studio, and I've got the preview version, so it's very stable, I promise. All right, so does this look familiar to anyone at all? Maybe? Cool. So this is like what they give you. They give you a test method here, and I could zoom in a little bit more if that helps. Right. So I'm going to add a few other testing related things here. First things first, a test initialize. And a test cleanup. Cool. Now, the test initialize. So our test methods, those are our actual tests. Test initialize gets run before every test method, and the test cleanup gets run after every test method. All right. That's the unit test stuff. Now let's talk about Selenium. All right, so first things first, I mentioned we need, we have that WebDriver that's running on our machine. So in the C# library, the way to do that is to instantiate this Chrome driver here. I'm going to make this global for demo purposes. Driver, and there's a little import thing. It's not showing up. It's stable, I promise. See here. Oh, because I didn't install the NuGets. Right. I even said that. All right, so let's add some NuGet packages. First things first, we need Selenium. This one, and we need the Chrome driver, this guy. Add those. Conference Wi-Fi, always the best. Feel free to grab a drink while we wait. Cool. And the one other one, system.security.permissions. There it is. If you were using an older version of .NET, like the .NET framework, you wouldn't have to add this extra NuGet package. It's just for getting .NET Core to work. There it is. Cool. Right. So in our init, we need to initialize this driver so that we can use it in our test methods. So we'll make a new Chrome driver. And here's another part that's kind of strange with .NET Core. I need to go and grab the location of where that executable is going to be. And I happen to know where it is. It's going to be here, here, in this folder. Normally you should put a relative path, but again, this is a demo. Or app 2.0. Cool. All right. So this is gonna it's gonna start up the Chrome driver on our machine, which will then cause an instance of Chrome to open up on my machine as well. And so we'll just say that also in the test initialize, since we're only testing the PowerShell gallery today, we will do driver.navigate.go to URL. And we will go to https://PowerShellGallery.com. Be self-explanatory. Just calls into the Chrome driver and tells Chrome to go to that URL. And so then in our cleanup, we need to make sure that we, clean up. And so we just need to close that running driver on our machine. Otherwise, we'll have a million instances of this Chrome driver running, and that's no good. So, and then for a simple test method, let's just make sure that we manage to get to the PowerShellGallery.com by looking at its title. This is the title of the actual site that we're looking at. So we'll just say assert that is true. The title contains more. There. Cool. All right. Who's confident this is going to work on the first try? Thank you for your optimism. All right. Here we go. Is it running? Okay, let's try it again. Hey, there it goes. Cool. Check mark. Awesome. Wow. All right. Just checking my notes to see what's next. So that's it. We're done. We have all the UI tests we need. Thank you, everyone. You've been great. All right, let's do a little bit more. Here's the PowerShell gallery. Let's make sure that we can go to this. There we go. We can go to this items page, which has the list of modules that you could download. So let's make a new method. Whoa. One more time. There you go. Navigate to search page. Sure. All right. Now we saw briefly in the slides that we can just call something by clicking on it. But first things first, we need to actually get that element. And we do that. My usual approach to this is let's look at the code, the HTML, and we see that there's this A tag here called items. All right, so that seems to be unique on this page. Let's do driver dot find element by let's do it this way. Find element by text, and we'll pass in items. Right? Items, yes. Cool. And we can just call click. And then we can do the same assert, make sure that we got into the items page. All right, now we got 2 tests. Let's see what's going to happen. So 1 and 2. Pass. Cool. We're doing well. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Next. So again, these are all very basic, but why don't we do a search now? There we go. We got a search box here. Let's see what we see about this. Beautiful. There's an ID. So an ID of search box input. All right, let's do something with that. I'm going to grab another one of these. Do search. So find element by ID. Additionally, you could do find elements by ID. That will return an array of things that have that particular thing, but I really hope you don't have more than one thing that has an ID. Right, so search box input. Then what we can do is send keys, and we can search for Star Wars. And then also this helper class, keys.enter, which will actually simulate the user typing in Star Wars and hitting enter. So then let's just see what that's going to look like. Type in Star Wars here. See, there's a module called Star Wars, which is great. Anything specific about this? It's a link, and it's got Star Wars for link text. That's what I love to see. So then we can say that we want to find, similar to this find element by link text, let's do Boolean, I don't know, driver.find elements by find elements by link text, and we'll say Star Wars.
That case sensitive?
I believe it is. And we'll say is greater than 0. Or you know what? Let's just assert on this. Assert that is true. Dot count is greater than 0. Cool. Let's see what we get. And everyone can confirm I'm not touching my computer. Hands are up. And you're not going to be able to see the typing. There you go. There it goes. And we've got some green. Awesome. What's next? So that search is good, but it doesn't really tell us much. It just says that Star Wars exists on the page somewhere as a link. So here's a better example, Azure RM Storage. We're going to want Azure RM Storage to be the top result because when we search for Azure RM Storage, we want that to be the top module. So how could we check that this is actually the first result? So once again, let's dive into the inspector and see what we can find inside. So there's this header class. Okay, that looks pretty good. Menu item. All right. Well, this looks like all the results, right? Well, if they're all the same, they're all going to have this this header for class package list header, and inside of that we have in here somewhere. There we go. Azure RM Storage, which is perfect. So let's go ahead and use that find elements by whatever, and you need it under one of these guys. Do header search. Azure RM .storage. Storage. Cool. So first things first, let's grab all of the elements that have this class. We could do driver dot find elements by class name. That. So that's going to give us an array. But we just want the first one. So let's just grab the first one. And then we'll say, and what we can do is we can chain these and say first dot find element. This is another syntax that you can do it. Find element. And you pass it up by. And we'll say link text Azure RM storage. Yeah. And we will assert that. Let's get rid of this. We will assert that find elements by this. I'm missing one of these. Yes. Count is greater than 0. Maybe I can zoom out a little bit because it's getting pretty big. There we go. Assert that is true first. And we can keep chaining these if we want, but this is as much as we need. So let's give it a try. Run this again. There's a Star Wars one. Cool. All green. Beautiful.
So what does it return if it's not the first result?
What part?
So right now it's testing to see if the first result is I forget what it was, Star Wars.
Up here?
It wouldn't search true.
So it failed the test, but is that, I thought you were testing to see if it works or testing to see if the result matched.
So are you talking about the better search or the bad search? Better search. Okay. So what it's doing is going back to code here. We're finding all the elements that have this class name, and what we're going to get is we're going to get this header element and all of its children, and then we're going to go to the second menu item. And we can drill into that, and there's a header with the same class, and we're going to get all that child elements as well. And so what we're going to have is when we do driver.find elements by class name, we're going to get back an array that contains three items in it, which is the 3 different items that we get back in our search, the 3 header elements. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I thought you were looking to see if the result you wanted came up first in the search engine, but you're just pulling the top 3 results.
Yeah, but it's grabbing the 0th index, and that's going to be the top of the list. And 1 would be like the next one, and so on and so on. So that's how I can say, like, all right, I know this will be the first element, the first one in the list. And then we're checking that inside of that first header element, there exists a link that says Azure RM.storage, which means that Azure RM storage is at the top of our search. And so that's success to us. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, so here we go. Does anybody see at all a problem with this code that I'm writing? Very broad statement. Yeah, what's up? Exactly. Yeah, so if anything on the PowerShell gallery, the HTML structure of the page changes, all of my tests are just going to be broken. And that's going to be really cumbersome to update. So now we'll shift gears and talk about something called the page object model. And what it means is for every page of your UI here, you're going to define an object, just like normal C# object, with different like helper functions and different helper priority properties that that can help you navigate better. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's see, 20 minutes time should be fine. So I'm going to make a new class here, and we will call this search or items page. Yes. Cool. So what we'll do with this items page is first we'll get a Chrome driver here, our normal driver, and we'll pass it in here. Driver equals driver. Import this. All right. So a helper function for a search page would, well, probably be to go to that search page. So let's do that. Called go to. That will check using Selenium if the driver.title contains items. If it does not contain it, then we will do driver.find element by link text, pass it items, click. Just like that. And what we can also do, and you'll see why this is nice in a bit, is return the instance of the items page. So another thing that we want our class here to do is actually perform a search. So we'll just say search for, and we'll accept a string query. And we'll just say, okay, driver dot find element by ID. And what was this again? Search box input dot send keys query and plus keys dot enter. Enter. And then we can, again, return at item page. All right. What does this look like in a test? Well, let's do one more function. We will say that this function is, well, let's leave that out for now, and I'll come back to that in a sec. So, write another one of these guys. This time we don't need any of this, this extra stuff. I guess we don't need this part for right now. We can make a new instance of our items page. And we will pass it in our driver. And then here's where, sorry?
You don't like the word best?
You're right, okay. Best, bestest, do best search, there we go. What is the best anyway? Okay. And so since we were returning that instance of items page, we can chain functions like this. Search for Azure rm.storage, like that. And so if we do a comparison here, this versus this, one's pretty much plain English. We have an items page, we want to go to that items page, and then we want to search for this string that we pass in. Much better than find element by ID, search box input, send keys, Azure RM storage plus keys dot enter. Pretty crazy. Much nicer. So, and then for this example, in theory, we could abstract this out as well. And we'll say, I don't know, a function called, it'll return a string that says get top link text. And it will return, or instead, let's have it do a Boolean, and we'll do check top link text. So you pass in some link text, and then we pass it in here as well. And then we return this, like that. Does that make sense? Cool. So then over here, we can just assert is true, none of this, but rather items page dot check top link text, and we'll pass it Azure RM storage as well. All right, there's a lot of coding there, so let's see if everything still works. This down here. So it's still going through all of the tests we had previously written. It's the Star Wars example. This was the first search, better search, or I think that was the best search actually. Cool. Green all the way around. And if you want, here, let's, just so you can kind of see red.sleep for just going to do this so that you guys can see. From seconds to. And comment out the rest of these because we know they work. All right, best search, run that. And that's it. Cool. Let me see if there's anything else. Right, so I've got about 10 minutes left. One of the things that you might be thinking about is, well, for this goto function, we're doing this driver.title contains this, and then we're finding it in the menu, and then we're clicking on it. So what that means in the gallery is I'm referring to these buttons up here. Now, these buttons exist on, well, every single page. So we could take this a step further and abstract the navigation as itself into its own class. So that instead of doing this in every single one of our pages, if we don't want to have a common like goto function, it could be something like, you know, navigation dot goto, and then you pass it in like items or something like that. That way, every single one of your pages could have just this one function call rather than this mess. See what else? Okay, so I've got one more demo for you today. This one I did beforehand. And it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. So it's the best kind of demo. I threw together something in about like, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half or so. And it's a suite of tests that test against the Hello World ASP.NET MVC web app. Yeah, so it's got this carousel and there's a couple pages here. And so you saw me testing everything in Chrome today, but where's like the cross-browser tests? So I'm going to show that off right now and cross my fingers that everything works. So this is the ASP.NET MVC app running on my machine that we were just looking at. And so I have this multiple browsers test thing here that I'm going to run using the .NET CLI. If I haven't evangelized it enough, .NET test. And here we go. So, enter completely off. So Chrome opens, and it's going through some tests that I wrote. One, they were usually like, go to the About tab, go to the Contacts tab, go to a link in the home page, click the carousel, and do something with it. Here's Firefox. A lot slower than Chrome. Sorry. Cool. And then lastly, Safari. Cool. That's it. I have a feeling this failed. No, it worked. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. I went ahead and all of this stuff is on GitHub. So if you do want to like take a look at what I've done, there's a link to that, and I'll show you that in a second. But just so you can kind of see what I did here, here's my project for Chrome, Firefox, and the Safari test that you just saw. I have this test base class, and it defines a whole bunch of these test methods that I showed off there. And then from this base class, I have this Chrome tests class that inherits from that test base and Firefox and Safari. And what that ends up happening is all of those tests get run against these different browsers based on this test init. So you can write the test code for all of these different browser tests without having to duplicate a whole lot of stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. And like I said, I threw this together pretty quickly, and I guarantee that you can too. So back to the slides, wherever they are. There they are. In my slides, which of course you all get, I threw a bunch of links here. The homepage for Selenium. I watched a whole bunch of Selenium Pluralsight videos that really kind of got me started in all of this that were really helpful. So a link to that. I was actually expecting someone to ask a question about screenshot comparison, but no one did. But if you want to, I hear that like the way to do it is to use image magic based on the screenshots that you take in Selenium. Here's a link on page object design. And then I added here at the bottom Protractor. Now, if you haven't heard Protractor, it's a testing tool for Angular. Protractor. Protractor, end-to-end testing for Angular. So if you use Angular, this is likely the way to do it. And if you look down here, WebDriver, Selenium, look familiar? That's right. Protractor is built on top of Selenium, which is pretty cool. So if you've ever used Protractor before, you're secretly using Selenium. That's it. That's me. The code, the slides, my email if you really want to email me, but just send me a tweet and I'll answer any questions that I can answer. Thank you to Nginx for letting me come and speak today, and thank you all for coming. That's it. I guess I can answer questions. There's like 3 minutes left, I think. Unless you don't have any? Okay.
I wonder, like, in the real world for the web gallery, how are you managing, like, change when it does happen? I mean, you abstracted it nicely and stuff, but, like, can you kind of share a little bit about your experience, like, as it evolves and keeping those running and up to date?
Well, I think we've kind of adopted this idea that if you're making a code change, there's probably a test change that needs to go with that code change. And so that's just a part of the reality of having like a system like this is like if you're making that change, you need to also change the tests so that our tests can still be of good quality. And so our web app can also be of good quality, that sort of thing.
And like the same person responsible for both of those actions, or are you splitting it up?
The same person, yeah. It's only just like a team of like 3 of us that work on PowerShell Gallery within Microsoft. So, you know, there's a lot of ownership there, which is pretty cool. Yeah, what's up?
Have you ever tried using a non-object like like canvas or something like that?
So, right, for like HTML canvases and stuff?
Yeah, so there's no real DOM object even like page.
Yeah, so I haven't dug into it because the gallery is pretty like lightweight, right? But there are these things called actions, which allow you to like actually say like XY coordinate, click here, and drag it over here, and do that sort of stuff. So is it possible? Yes. I don't know what the extent is of how difficult that would be. But yes. Anything else? Cool. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. All right, I got a project for it.